What's going on, Canes fans? Welcome to the Canescast, and we are excited to finally get to break down our first game of the season. As usual, I'm your host, Kyle, joined by Kevin, and we are extremely excited to get started. And today, we're going to break down in depth. Now, we've done some broad breakdowns in the past, but we're going to go really in depth on the Florida game alone. We're going to discuss our opinions on the position groups, what we think the outcome will be of the game, and we'll talk both position groups of both UF and Miami. So that being said, we're excited to get started. Kevin, man, how you doing?
What's up, Kyle? Ready to finally start breaking down some football. We are a little over a week away from the game. I'm super psyched. I've had a little countdown in my living room for the last 3 months, and it's finally 8 days to Orlando. So
the whole offseason flew by until we got to the last 2 months. So what we'll do is we're just going to do the comparison first before we do our other segment. Obviously, you and I have talked off air a little bit about our opinions of this game. And I want to say as a disclaimer before we start talking, I love Miami. I want Miami to win. I will not be shocked at all if Miami does win. They are 100% capable. There are just so many question marks that I'm not quite as confident as my co-host Kevin here. So anyone listening, don't hate me. I promise you that I'm not always this negative. So as we discuss them,
but if there's any Homer Canes fans out there, I got you. So
yeah, well, so as we discuss this, because here's my thing. What we both, Kevin and I both strive to do on the show is make sure that everything is realism, not optimism. Obviously, if we have a reason to be optimistic, we will be, but we don't want to just be optimistic because we're fans. We want to kind of take that out of it, try to not, be objective to everything and really give our insight. And so hopefully that you'll get a good insight on that today and see both sides of what we're discussing. And hopefully we'll be able to give you something more than just Miami by 40 because we like Miami, because that is all we've heard from Florida fans. And I'm pretty sure Kevin and I both agree that's not happening on UF side. So with that being said, Kev, let's talk quarterbacks. We're just going to start there.
Okay.
So in comparing these two, right off the bat, my answer, advantage. So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the advantage on who's got the advantage at quarterback. Now, I'm a firm believer that Miami has the better quarterback, the more talented quarterback. I've seen both throw. Now, granted, we've seen Frank's throw in obviously in regular season games against some good competition. We have not quite seen Williams throw in that capacity yet. However, we've seen him throw. We know what his arm's capable of. We know what his talent is. I think we have the better talented quarterback. However, I'm probably a little more big on experience than maybe you are. And so when I give this advantage, I give the advantage to UF having a senior quarterback because we don't quite know how Williams will respond in game one in that kind of atmosphere for the first time ever. So my answer for this, and we'll try to go through this quickly, I give UF the advantage in that comparison between us two. However, if Williams is able to play like he is experienced and it just comes out there and none of those things face him, I think we'll end up having the advantage at quarterback. But as of right now, I give Florida that advantage. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I'll give it the advantage to Florida with a question mark because, like you said, we don't really know. We like to think Jaron Williams is going to be the next coming of, Ken Dorsey, but we really just don't know how he's going to handle the atmosphere. We don't know, how he's going to handle different blitzes being thrown at him, different, looks being thrown at him in the middle of a game while being rushed at. We don't know how he's going to handle the situation. Obviously, in the long term, I do think Jaron Williams will be better than Felipe Franks.
Yeah.
But I guess for this game, I will have to give the advantage to Florida. But like I said, with a question mark because we really just don't know. But obviously, for what we've seen so far up to now, Florida's obviously got the advantage just because of the experience. But it just pains me to say it because Kyle, I've continued to watch over and over again these games, like these Florida games last year, and I just don't see it. I don't. A lot of Florida fans, I don't know if they're being serious or not, are calling for literally that Franks has the Heisman capability this year, and unless he's improved immensely. A lot of these games I watched last year is just so many overthrows. It doesn't seem like he's as heady as a quarterback you would like a quarterback to be.
Yeah.
I just feel like with the offense, we'll get into the offensive line later, but I feel like, all it takes is a little bit of pressure on our end, and I think that's going to be a big key to the game.
There's a lot of evidence. Yeah, there's a lot of evidence that suggests what you're saying is correct. My problem is it's not that he has improved his like he hasn't necessarily got better as a quarterback. Like he's just, his throwing ability is better, his accuracy better. It's not necessarily that that's gotten better. He's just gotten smarter. He's learned the system.
He's been there.
He's been there. And so he knows what his limitations are because Dan Mullen is a good enough coach to help him understand that. So it's not necessarily that he's just improved so much. Now he's this Heisman quarterback, which that's not going to happen. I think that's a joke. Felipe Franks is a joke of a quarterback in the idea of his talent. But he is a very solid quarterback in his size, his running capabilities, and how he'll be used in the offense. And it reminds me a lot, honestly, of Rozier. When you go back to 2017 and we beat Virginia Tech and we beat Notre Dame, it wasn't because Rozier was this great quarterback. He threw 3 interceptions in the first half against Virginia Tech. And we still won, 34-17, 35-17?
Yeah, I will say those were like the few games that you really felt like Rick put together a really good game plan.
Yes, the defense did its job.
It kind of makes you scratch your head towards last year and be like, what happened?
And that's the thing and maybe that's what we'll see happen to Florida. Maybe and I think they will implode in the season a little bit. I'm not saying they're going to have a bad season, but I don't think that they're going to reach that 10 wins. I think they'll stay at 9-3 probably again.
Do you think that people will on to what they're doing?
Yes, because what you saw a lot, and I think what you're going to see against Miami when we play Florida is they are going to literally use and listen, when I watched Florida, this is what they did. They ran, how we discredit Rick the same 6 plays. The difference between him and Mullen only ran about 6 plays last year. The difference is Mullen constantly changed formations. He constantly changed the way they ran the ball. Now, I say 6 plays. They had more than that in the running plays and things like that. They had options and stuff. But it was run the ball, be super conservative, and lean on your defense. And it was just the passing really was only about 6 plays. Slants, screens, down the seams, long, whenever the play action kind of allowed the receivers to break free. So it was very simplistic in the sense of what exactly his game plan was. It was just complicated in the formations and the eye candy given by UF. So that's my thing. I think Franks is perfect fit this year for them. I think he's going to be harder to stop in that sense. But all he's going to do against Miami is they're going to run him. That quarterback draw, just like we did with Rozier against Notre Dame, they're going to run that quarterback draw on short yardage situations a lot. They're going to run it in every formation they can until they can find a crease and try to break you because it's safe. And then they're going to set up plays in the first half to, expound upon in the second half with play action, allowing Franks to throw wide open receivers. So that's kind of the concern we'll talk about later about the DBs and things. So we both agree on quarterback. Advantage UF right now, but we both think we have the better guy, and I'm excited about the future for Williams. Going to running backs, I think Miami has the advantage here. I've watched a lot of game film on Perrine, or I guess you say Pirine. He's extremely talented, very good, but behind them, not really any guys that have shown anything significant. We know what DJ Dallas can do. We know we haven't seen a lot out of Lorenzo and those guys yet, and I don't know how much we will see out of Lorenzo. But we know he's talented, and we have seen flashes of really good plays out of Harris. So advantage UM for me. What do you think?
Yeah, I see this on Twitter like every day. I don't. Florida has to be the most delusional fan base I've ever seen in my entire life. I don't know if it's just because they're going strictly off the 7-6 season, and they just don't think we have game breakers and playmakers. But they're like, oh, better at running back, better at wide receiver, better at all these positions. I'm like, running back? Where did you get running back from? We have DJ Dallas, Cameron Davis, we have Lorenzo Lingard when he comes back healthy. Like, that's a solid 3 deep. Like, I don't understand. I feel like a lot of people we're being overlooked, and I told you this earlier over text, because of what happened last year, the incompetence of coaching. The talent's there. That running back group is as solid as you can get. And P. Ryan's good. He's kind of like a DJ Dallas. He's nothing special, to be honest. He's
got very good vision, and he can break you at any time. That's the thing.
He's not gonna. I don't
He's
know.
not
I
going to be
mean,
Dalvin Cook. He's not going to do what
yeah,
Florida
he's not
State
gonna
did
break
to
the
us a
top
few years ago.
off. Like
Yeah.
he doesn't have that elite speed, but he's a solid running back. I mean, but then you got Malik Davis, who showed some signs last year of some playmaking abilities, but they lost Jordan Scarlett. That was kind of their two punch last year with Scarlett and Pirine. And I just got to give the advantage of the Canes. I just think they're too deep with like real elite talent, especially once you get into Cameron. And then if Lorenzo can somehow get some snaps, I don't know if he's going to. He says he feels great. I don't know what their plan is for him. But yeah, I got to give the advantage to the Canes.
Yeah, and I think that right now we're just talking about pure talent, and individual capabilities. And like I said, I've watched Florida, and they do. Piron is a good running back. I would take him
No, he is
at UM any given day. I've watched Malik Davis play. He's going to be good for them. They're gonna do some big things at UF, excuse me. But knowing what we have and what we've seen even out of Harris and DJ, it's just I feel like we have two proven guys, they have one, and that's kind of how I look at it at this moment. You know what I mean? And then our one unproven guy is probably our most talented in Lingard, 5-star, for 2018. So I think we're pretty good there, and I'm excited about that. Now that doesn't mean that we're going to run the ball better, because obviously it all depends on the offensive line and play calling, and so we're going to get to that. So right now we're just talking, talent and what we hold with each individual player. Going from running backs to the O-line. So this is where the running game really, this is what's going to determine it. I give it a tie here because we just have so many unknown answers.
Can we do pushes? I was about to say, can we do
pushes? I just, we've read some stuff that they've got some offensive linemen that are injured. And we have a bunch of young guys. They might be starting our freshman at left tackle, or maybe they'll move him to right tackle and move someone else there. We don't know.
Yeah,
we are literally
have two freshmen. Both lines may have two freshmen on it.
Yeah, and so it's a very unknown situation. I would give it a tie, and with the front sevens each team holds, it's hard for me to envision anyone having a good run game. And the only way the run game, I believe, is going to open up is if someone's passing game is working well. Because I think both offenses can pass block. And even under Rick, pass blocking really wasn't a big issue. We did fairly well. Could always be better, but we did fairly well. I think the only way you're going to really open that up to make big plays is if which quarterback's going to make the plays with his arm. And so, now granted, you can coach around some things with sweeps and motions and things like that and try to get guys off balance, but I think both coaches do that well. So it's hard to tell who really will have success in the run game, but I would give it a tie.
Yeah, just like I said, I'll give it a push too. I did some research on this topic because I thought, this really is where the game is going to be won. I think whichever younger offensive line comes to play better than the other is going to end up winning. It's just the bottom line. But if you look at Florida, every day it seems to get worse and worse. They were resorting to a redshirt freshman on their right tackle position, Richard Garaji. I don't know how to say his last name. And he got hurt with a groin injury, and he had no starts. This would have been his first start ever at right tackle. So now he's injured. They don't know if he's going to be able to play. So I don't know who they have behind him. They're saying even Michael Tarquin. I don't know if you remember him.
Yeah.
Starting as a true freshman. Man, that would be eating all day if that would happen. And if that happens, I would have to give the nod to the Canes because, I don't know. I feel like they're just too banged up. Now they do have a center. His name's Nick Buchanan. This does go in their favor because obviously the center kind of anchors the line. He did start all games last year and he is a senior. So that is huge on their part because when you have a bunch of young guys on your line, it helps to have a senior anchoring that line at center.
And it allows them to pick up blitzes. He can coach them along. Because at the end of the day, if they're talented freshmen, then really it comes down to the mental game. And having a guy who knows what he's looking at can definitely help him out a lot.
Of course, but even that Noah Banks guy, too, the one that just got medically removed from playing because of the epilepsy, a lot of projections had him even starting as well. So they're down a couple guys, and it's going to be interesting. I think, and we'll dive into it later, I'm sure, once we get into the real synopsis of the game. But it's going to be a feast or famine type game for for the D line for both teams. And I'm going to get into later. We'll get into later about the defensive line.
Yeah, we'll get everything.
But I still give it a push. But if Girardi doesn't go, I would go towards the Canes.
So nothing to really discuss here. Tight end. The fact that people were having a discussion on Facebook is hilarious. Definitely UM has the advantage there. And I think these guys are going to have good games. Hopefully if they can – and that also goes to the run scheme. I mean, if these guys can get in and pass block as well as they catch, I think we might be in a lot better hands. And but, yeah, definitely Miami on that.
Yeah, I mean, mine will be quick. Yeah, definitely Miami also. And like you said, I think they're going to be really key in this game. You got your freshman quarterback starting his first ever game in national television to be like safety blankets the whole game. So they're going to be really key when it comes to the game.
Yeah. Now, at wide receiver, I put a tie here, and I don't know if you'll agree or not. I watched a lot of these guys last year. I know Florida didn't do well in recruiting receivers, but they did get transfers like Van Jefferson and these guys, and I've watched them play, and they're good. They're big guys. They're dependable. They know what they're doing. They have good hands, and I've watched them make big plays. One thing that held a lot of them back is Felipe Franks not being able to throw the ball, always the best, but Van Jefferson's a big kid. I've watched Trayvon Grimes play. Tony's out there. Freddie Swain. They're experienced receivers, and that's another thing. A couple of them are big. They're experienced, and they're going to be a threat. They're going to test our defensive backs and our safeties, and that is a strength on their offense. And then, of course, when you look at Miami, I don't think any receiver on the field is as good as Jeff Thomas, so I think we have the advantage there, but still have question marks from there. I've never been a huge Mike Harley fan. He's a little undersized. He's pretty dependable as far as catching the ball, but a little undersized, not an elite player by any means. KJ we know is going to be pretty good, solid, but still never seen him play. And then, of course, the freshmen that we had that were highly rated come out of high school like Pope and Hightower, we know they're talented, but again, haven't seen enough of any of them. And we know we've had issues with the drops. So, I'm kind of putting a tie here because I know we're talented, but just haven't accomplished enough for me to be confident that we have the better unit.
Yeah, so I'll piggyback. This is where I disagree with you. And just to think, too, Amon Richards could possibly be a senior right now. That'd be crazy.
Yes, but he's – yeah. Then it would definitely go Miami's way.
I'm just saying it'd be crazy receivers with him, Osborne. But I think the key – I think what a lot of people are missing here, and, it's another thing I see on Twitter all the time. It's Florida fans saying, "Oh, our wide receivers, don't even come close." And again, it's another mirage of just how bad and how incompetent last season was, because we got some ballers at the receiver position, man. And if you look at the, and I expected too, because like you said, I didn't watch Van Jefferson, I didn't watch Trayvon Grimes too much last year, but I was expecting to go by how UF fans are talking. I was expecting to go on ESPN and look at their stats and think that they tore the cover off the field every time they stepped on it, but I just don't see it. I don't know what. I know that they spread the ball around a lot, but you got Van Jefferson. He had 500 yards last year. Well, wow, big deal. With Jeff Thomas did more than that last year in like a sixth grade offense. He had 550 yards last year. Then you got Trayvon Grimes. He had 350 yards all of last year, and then I think people are underestimating also just how good KJ Osborne is. Go watch that guy's highlights. He's going to go over 1,000 yards this year. He had almost 900 last year with 7 touchdowns, 53 receptions. Jeff Thomas is the most electric receiver in this game, in my opinion, but KJ Osborne is the best receiver in this game. I truly think after this year, he'll be a top 2-round pick. Even a lot of outlets have been coming out and saying that he reminds them a lot of Jarvis Landry. So I think him alone is going to give us the advantage because he's seasoned. He's a senior. He's been around. Yeah, he hasn't been playing the same competition maybe at Buffalo as other teams have, but he's going to be
here's my issue. Even if you set them to aside, okay, the 4 receivers I named, again, in Van Jefferson, Freddie Swain, Grimes, and Tony, I've watched these guys play. And Tony, I think, is the most electric out of all of them. I mean, the kid is just. I mean, he is. I'm not gonna say he's.
Hope will be Tony.
Okay, yeah, and he may, yeah, but you can't say that until you see it. Pope has done nothing, absolutely nothing at Miami so far. So again, the ability is there. Yes. Have we seen it? No. So I can't hitch my wagon to something I don't know. Hightower, we know can be good. We've seen flashes of it, and I think his situation was one, the injury last year, and two, again, the incompetence. So I'm leaning there with you, but again, haven't seen it. And then guys like Wiggins with the dropped issues, and we just, Ezra transferred. I know there's 4 reliable guys on Florida's team, and I only know that there's 2 reliable guys on ours. You talk about the 11 drops we had in the last scrimmage. That's still obviously an issue. And then on top of that, if you compare stats, Florida's stats are that way because last year they had a very good offensive line and 2 stud running backs. And so knowing Franks couldn't throw, he was kind of like a Rozier, they really were heavy on running the ball. But it doesn't mean that those receivers are not capable of scoring. They're not reliable. And I think this year, especially if the offensive line is breaking down more, they're going to have to throw more. And they'll put them in a pretty good advantage with the receivers they have if Franks can get on the ball. So again, I agree with you saying, I think Miami, if we were to say who has the best receiver, it would be Miami. If Amon Richards was healthy, it would be Miami. But we haven't seen KJ play other than when he played at Buffalo. So it's going to be different.
I also think you need to factor in too that I know it's a different position, but I think you need to factor in too, as a receiving core, just how much better our 2 tight ends are, and they're going to be used.
Yes, I agree with you on that. I agree with you on that, and I would definitely push for Miami when it comes to who's going the receiving yards and what's going to be capable in the passing game. Yes, but when we're talking specifically receivers, that's kind of my concern.
All right, so you push, and I take Canes.
Defensive back. Mainly based off experience here, I'm going to go UF. I think that I'm a huge Bandy fan. He has a lot of heart. I think he's going to be solid for us. I think he's going to make some plays. My concern is, especially in this game, his height. I've watched him several times. I guess people will just ignore that it happens. But I've watched him a lot against teams like Wisconsin, Georgia Tech, Boston College. When he gets matched up against big receivers, I've seen him get scored on. None of us have seen him make plays. But he's our only known experienced defensive back that's very talented, and the height is kind of an issue, and I've seen it work at his disadvantage a lot. And in a game that's going to be close, that worries me a little bit. We know that Florida's got some experienced guys now. Their depth is definitely an issue, but their backups are freshmen. Basically, our backups are freshmen. And we're going to be starting guys who've never played significant snaps. I've seen a little bit of Blades get in there. He got in there one-on-one in LSU and got embarrassed. So we haven't really seen anything from our guys yet. Now, talent-wise, by far, Miami's going to be extremely talented at that position. But going into this game, I would give UF the advantage because of their experience and how important that position is when it comes to experience. Not necessarily like a defensive end, pass rushing defensive end or something where you don't have so many things to kind of recognize. Corner's a little different. I give UF the advantage on that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to agree with you on that one. But like I said, like you said, it may not be off of just straight like athleticism, like who you think has the better players. No. It really is just based off of, but they do. They have a stacked defensive backfield. I do think, like you said, depth could be an issue and also we don't know how Marco Wilson, if he's going to be healthy, if he's playing. They're not really coming out with it. He's 9 months, 10 months removed from a torn ACL, so I don't know apparently he is practicing in full, but I don't know if he's going to play. That's a huge loss if that's true, because like you said, then they'll have to start diving into that depth that's not as deep as most teams, especially with some of the injuries. And then you also hear rumblings that there's possibly some suspensions coming. There's been rumblings about that for a couple weeks now. And I know Brad Stewart's name's been thrown out there.
Well, until we know that's going to
No, of course. No, I'm still going to lean Florida. I'm just kind of like giving some analysis on how I think it could possibly change. depending on two big key players. Obviously, they have the best. In my opinion, they have the best one of the best defensive players in the game in general at CJ Henderson. He kind of tips the scale completely. I would just not even throw his way. I would try to find a way to not go his way the entire game. But yeah, they're stacked as far as starters are concerned. But like I said, keep an eye out for Marco Wilson if he actually plays, because then they start diving into that 2D.
Well, when we do the comparison of our receivers versus them, we'll dive into that a little more too. And then kind of tying in with that defensive backfield with safety too, I would give UF, again, experience. Now, I think the best safety to walk on that football field in August is going to be Gervin Hall by far. I think Gervin Hall has the ability to be a first-round draft pick. But, man, again, experience. You're gonna hear it from me at least all night. I would still give UF that push.
I still have no idea what went on with Derek Smith. I don't know what.
Yeah, and that's another thing, that transfer and him leaving. Some stuff I had heard, he wanted to start, and obviously he is. I don't know if it was the sophomore, junior.
He's a junior.
So you're not going to get.
I expect Bolden to solidify himself too a couple games into the season. So maybe he saw. Get him out.
Yeah, and I don't think he obviously would have. I'm almost positive Bolden will end up starting for us. And between Bolden and Hall, and then of course Amari Carter is going to be in there a lot. It was kind of between him and Robert Knowles, and then Smith. Quinshon Smith's going to be coming up soon. I think he kind of saw that he's never going to start here, and even though he'd probably get some playing time, he probably saw the writing on the wall with that, which could be a possibility. I don't hate the kid for it, but that takes kind of a blow. Again, inexperience when we're already inexperienced. It takes a little bit away. So Florida on that. Going to the linebackers, that is clearly Miami.
Yeah, should we even do this one?
Yeah, there's nothing to break down. We'll say Miami has the advantage there. Now, Florida has some talented linebackers, but yeah, the experience plus the talent, you couldn't get any more of a perfect situation than what we're in right now. With all three guys, all three being seniors, all three are only missing one total game between all three of them. And just lots of continuity, lots of experience. So Miami there, which is big for our defense. And then on the defensive line, I would say that it is a tie also. They're very good up front. They're very athletic up front. Now, I know a lot of people, because that has been our bread and butter, our defensive line and who we have at defensive end. But again, going on things, let's not speculate. We have yet to watch Hill take a snap at Miami. We know he's good. But we haven't seen him play yet at Miami. We haven't seen the defensive tackle. I'm not going to try to pronounce his name, but the transfer from UCLA. Haven't seen him play yet. We lost Silvera. We know Garvin is good. With the three freshmen we've never seen play, never seen Jordan Miller play. Just haven't seen anything on this defensive line. Lots of talent, haven't seen it. We've seen a lot of play on Florida's defensive line. And I think Miami's doing really well on depth, but so is Florida. I think it's pretty evenly matched as of right now.
So I'm going to have to disagree with you again. Like I said, it's close. I still think it's close. I just look at the bodies we have, and it seems unfair, like to a degree. And I know Florida is solid too with Zanega and, Kyrie Campbell and all those guys. And then you got Grenard that they picked up from Louisville. He's going to be off the edge a little bit. But you look at Garvin, and I know we haven't seen Hill play as a Kane, but, I saw that guy play as a Hokie. And you go out and watch his highlights. That guy is electric. And if you listen to his interview the other day, that man is on a mission. And those two at D end is absolutely scary, just because Garvin is a massive freak of nature. And then the two deep is you got Rousseau, who apparently is tearing everything up, and then you got Harvey, who's apparently coming.
But I still haven't seen these guys play in a game.
I know, man, but it's like
that's my problem with this whole thing. Is it's like every position outside of linebacker, we haven't seen these guys play. We haven't seen these guys play. We know one running back has experience.
Yeah, but you know in Manny's system, like, you've seen it. Like you.
No, and I'm not. I know for a fact Miami's defense is going to have success, but I can't pick someone better than another
All
if
right.
you've never seen them.
I'll push it. I'll push.
Well, here, this will make it easier. Let's transition to our next kind of segment,
All right.
guys. Maybe I don't know if I explained this yet or not. What we're going to do here is we're going to take each position group, and we're going to say, kind of talk about what I think what success or lack of success they'll have in a game, and then I'll say whether or not I'm either confident that they'll be able to do their job in August. Well, it is August. Whether they'll be able to do their job on the 24th, or whether I believe they'll be able to do their job on the 24th, or if I'm not confident. So you have three options here, Kev. We'll go by each position. You tell me, and I'll tell you, are we confident they can get the job done? Do we just believe they can get the job done, but we're not very confident? Or are we not confident at all? So since we're talking D-line, all right, let's start with the defensive end. I am confident. I agree with you. I am confident that the defensive ends will do their job. We know Hill is an NFL talent. Now, will he be held back at all, being with a new team and not in the strength and conditioning program long and having those kind of months off and getting kind of in the new system with the new defensive line coach? Will it hold him back a little bit? Possibly, but he's still going to go out there and make plays. It's not rocket science. Like you said, we've seen Diaz make things happen. We have Rousseau, haven't seen him play. But we know he's a freak athlete. We know Garvin's a freak. We know Harvey's a freak. Still haven't seen him play, but we know these guys are extremely good. Plus, you have Patchen, who has some experience. I am confident at the defensive end position. Would you agree?
I am very, very confident in the defensive end position. That and over the whole team, that and probably linebacker are the two positions that I feel most comfortable with. So yeah.
Well, let's mention linebackers so we can. We'll skip time where we can. I'm also confident the linebackers are going to be great, and we're going to be very good, and that shores up most of our front seven, which is a good look for us.
Yes, sir. I agree.
But defensive tackle is where I'm neither not confident or confident in their abilities and what they'll be able to do. I'm a little concerned on what they're going to accomplish going into against Florida. I believe, and that's kind of where I'll be, I'm in the middle, I believe that they will get the job done. We know that there's talent, but again, unproven. So Ford has never accomplished anything significant. And this is the guy we're all really leaning on to be the Willis of this year. Will he replicate Willis? No, not in my opinion. Have we heard great things about him? Yes. So the coach's opinions definitely exceed mine. So I'm confident he'll do his job and he'll be good for us. But outside of him, we lost Severa. So that's one very good player gone for this game. You've got the transfer. We don't know anything about him. He hasn't been there long. We don't know how well he'll do. Yeah, we don't know how well he's going to do. Behind them, you've got Bethel, who's never been a very good defensive tackle. He's always just kind of been a fill-the-hole type guy. Martin, never been very good. I'm not big on either one of those kids. We have three freshmen who are very athletic but haven't been in the strength and conditioning program, have never played. And then you have Jordan Miller, who we've heard some good things about. Maybe we'll see him. There's just too many question marks at that position.
Yeah, I mean, I'll agree with you. It's like one of those positions that I want to be confident in, but like you said, we have a lot of guys that are just unproven. I do have faith, like I said, in Manny and, obviously Feely and the new strength and conditioning program. I'm gonna have to disagree with you on Bethel. He's not one of those guys that it's gonna it's gonna make you turn your head and be like, whoa, that guy has got the goods. But he is a very solid defensive tackle. I've actually read a lot of things that says he's kind of turned the corner a little bit going into his senior year. And I think him and Ford are actually going to be pretty serviceable. They're obviously not going to be I think Ford actually could be one of those studs. I think especially going into next year. I don't think we'll see it fully this year, but I think he's really starting to turn the corner. I was big on him in high school. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's still a lot to be seen. So I want to believe, but I'm not confident just yet.
Yeah, and that's the thing and here's the thing. This is what I also look at too. Can these two guys replicate the same success that McIntosh and Norton did? I don't think so. And that's on Bethel, not so much Ford. you got to have it by now. You know what I mean? Like you got to have at least had like was was Norton or McIntosh just were they Willis? Were they amazing? No. Were they pretty good and definitely serviceable? Absolutely. Can those guys be serviceable? Sure. Can Ford be like those guys? Yes. Well, Bethel, I'm not super confident in, and everyone else we haven't seen. My picks would be from the game film I've seen at UCLA would be Naroku and Ford being that McIntosh Norton role, and I think we'd be good if he is that guy like we think he can be, but we don't know. So that's why I believe it'll get done. I believe between all those kids, they can get something done, but I don't know. And my biggest concern is when your center is the anchor of that offensive line for Florida, and he's smart. He knows what's going on. He's very talented, and that kind of that quarterback draw and those things that they're constantly going to be doing. They don't. It's not even a matter of who's better, Florida or Miami. It is the head coach and Dan Mullen being smarter than the player. So it's not even him being smarter than the coaches. The coaches know what to do on every given play and every read, but the players don't always do that. So will Ford and Bethel be able to recognize certain things and play that chess with that center who's going to constantly be, picking up blitzes, reading things? Is Ford going to be able to pick up the screens that are constantly going to be thrown, or is he just going to get too far upfield, miss the runs up the middle? Is that going to be a liability for us? You know what I mean? Is that center and quarterback going to be able to work that run game between the tackles, the defensive tackles, or not? That's what I'm concerned about.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And I mean, it remains to be seen. But I mean, I guess we'll just see what happens.
So going into our defensive backs, so we're doing all defense first. I'm not confident at all in our defensive backs. I'm not down or like it's over. I definitely believe they can do well, and I believe they're going to be very good in the future. But our best defensive back is very short, and we've seen it. Like I said earlier, we've seen him get picked on before. I love his heart. I love his tenacity. But are they going to stick? Are they going to stick our most experienced guy on their best receiver, or our biggest guy in Ivy on their best receiver or their biggest receiver? I don't necessarily who they consider their best, but like a Van Jefferson. It's going to be a nightmare matchup for me. It's probably going to be a battle both ways all day if those two are matched up on each other. Bandy might make some plays, but Van Jefferson can expose him. Or you're going to put him on Tony, and he's a little slower, and we're talking about our best defensive back. He's a little slower than Tony. Will he be able to cover Tony? Will he be able to cover? I have no doubt he can play with Grimes and those guys. But that's our best. That's our most experienced guy, our most dependable guy. So that's a little worry in that situation. And then when you go on from there, everyone else is young. Ivy has the body to be a first-round draft pick. I think he's going to be so good for Miami. But will he really be able to play for 4 quarters against Florida? And with that inexperience, will he be able to know what to do on every play? And Blades as well. Both very talented defensive backs. But will they be able –
Yeah.
And again, it's not about them getting beat because they're not good enough. It's are they cerebral enough and experienced enough now to go against an offensive coach who's very good at disguising plays and getting you to bite on eye candy? I don't think so. I'm not very confident in that. Again, not, dissing their talent. We know they're going to be good. But am I confident that they're going to be ready game one and just be mistake-free? Nah, I'm not very confident that'll happen.
Yeah. So I'm actually going to go with believe, but hear me out here. Because I'm not that confident in the group itself, because like you said, they're very inexperienced and it just remains to be seen. But the reason why I believe in this bunch is because of that front seven. I believe that the fact that our front seven, in my mind, is going to be so dominant, and I think it's going to be seen in that first game, especially if Florida's O-line is hurt and not as healthy as people were intending it to be.
Yeah.
I think it's going to take a lot of pressure off that back end, and I think it's going to let them, use their athletic abilities to how they're used to doing, and I think it's going to show out pretty well. Now, like if you said, if I was not confident at all in our front seven, and we had the inexperience in the back end, then yes, I'd be on the not confident side with you for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
The fact that I know that our front seven is going to get some very solid pressure on the quarterback and kind of take a little bit of that pressure off those young guys, I believe that they're going to do the job enough to win.
Yeah. Well, and I agree with you. I think there will be plays to be made. That pressure can definitely cover up the inefficiencies deficiencies at defensive back at the moment with experience. So that's a very good point, and I do agree with you. And I'm between that belief and not confident. But my problem is, and I'll tie safeties in with it. Here's my problem to Miami fans.
Robert Knowles.
Well, we'll get to that. But my problem is, well, one with safety. Okay, if Robert Knowles is out there, that's a liability. Now, maybe he shored things up. Maybe he'll be good. I don't know. If he is, I will.
Can you imagine if that dude picked 6 or something?
Oh, dude, listen.
Stadium would go insane.
I will mail this kid. Well, I can't send him money, but I'm gonna do something to this kid if that happens. And I want that to happen. Like, I want this kid to be successful.
Yeah,
he's worked hard.
You can tell
I hate. Yeah, and I hate the slander he gets on that. However, this is Division I football, and you have to be dependable. And going into that, and when we're talking about these defensive backs, if we were taking this team right now, and Manny Diaz, a first-year head coach, and Danny knows, and we were playing LSU last year, I would have Miami winning by 2 or 3 touchdowns. It would just be because the offense, because the reason I'm not confident with these defensive backs and these safeties. So I'm gonna go ahead and say with safety also I'm not confident, is because the offensive matchups. If the LSU game, they're real run heavy, but they like to use the tight ends. There were less receivers on the field. They were just a lot slower. They had a lot of bigger guys that were just slower, a lot more simplistic routes, and
the reason why we lost is because of a lot of offensive.
It was Rozier being a quarterback. We've upgraded from there. It was play calling. We've upgraded from there, and it was punting, and we upgraded from there. So 152-yard run. They threw 0 touchdowns that day. They had 150-something yard run, and that was because when Robert Knowles came on the field and he didn't plug his hole. So my thing for this is Robert Knowles was probably going to be out there for a good amount of plays. And what Florida likes to do, like LSU, is they're going to play super conservative, and they're going to run the ball until you break. They're going to run it. They're going to run it. They know Miami's capable of turning the ball over.
One mistake.
Exactly. And so the reason I'm not confident in Miami's defensive backfield in game 1 is because with that lack of experience, all day long you're trying to get up there and make sure that they're going to be running the ball at you. And especially like Gervin Hall and these safeties, you've got to be that safety net like Jaquan was, and you've got to be back there. And so you're making these tackles all day, and you come into the second half, all right? What Dan Mullen does best, he is an offensive genius when it comes to setting plays up. You can hate him all you want. The man can call plays. He's been doing it for 15, 20 years. So the man will call plays that look just like one play in the first half.
Cut you off there for a second?
What?
So I wanted to go on a little bit of a rant.
Well, let me finish this point before, because I know how your rants go.
Yeah, finish your point.
My whole thing, Canes fans, is you go back to the LSU game, you can point out 5 plays or change the game that we could control. Just 5 plays. The pick, and a couple foolish penalties, right? Literally, these games that are close, they come down to just a handful of plays every time. And so when you talk about experience, the team that usually wins out in those neck and neck games is the more experienced team because they have been there. And so when you're playing Dan Mullen and they're being simplistic in their offense and they've been running the ball all day and Miami's doing their job and Gervin Hall's making those tackles and the defensive backs are making plays and you're getting into the fourth quarter and now all those run plays that they've been setting up, now it's play action time. Now it's the sweep here or there's just so many plays Dan Mullen keeps up his sleeve, as does Dan Enos. But all these plays saved up, that's when I'm worried those young guys are not going to be able to tell the difference. They're going to be looking to make a play because they're young, they're hungry, they want to win, and they're going to overcompensate. And there's going to be a boneheaded 62-yard pass for a touchdown. You know what I mean? There's going to be a guy out of his gap, especially if Robert Knowles is in there, which he's likely to be. He is somebody that's just, at least have in the past, has been, somebody you can't necessarily always depend on. Now, could that change? Yes. So with all those things you add up, just no experience, your most experienced guy is your smallest guy. Robert Knowles is going to be in there. Bubba Bolden's not ready yet. So you want to talk about how good Bubba Bolden is. Well, he's not been in there yet. He's not going to, I don't think he's going to play that much. So that's why I'm not very confident in the defensive backfield. And that's what a big reason, I would lean on Florida winning this game is simply because of that. Because it's going to be neck and neck. And those guys, you're afraid they're going to bite because they're hungry, they're young, and they're inexperienced. And that's what Dan Mullen does. If this was LSU and it was just running the ball all day and short passes, I think Miami would tear them to pieces this year. And the offense would be able to score enough. They would be able to score a lot better. But this is different. This is getting the ball out quick. That kind of shuts your front seven down a little bit. So a lot of different elements to this. But you go ahead with your tangent real quick. Let's see what you have to say. Now, if this is your now listen, if this is going to be the pick, like, because at the very end of this, we're going to break down why we think which team will win.
Yeah, I'll wait to say it at the end. Then.
Okay, save it for the end because I'm going to give you your like a court case. You give your end, I'll give my end.
I'm boiled though. I'm boiled.
Offensive line, again, also not confident. We're going up against a good Florida front seven. I've watched Florida. This is the thing. This is what worries me, okay? Especially now that we've picked Williams. Being under center and trying to run the ball under center and being too simplistic, and like you mentioned the other day, trying not to lose. I don't want to see Miami go out there and try not to lose. And there's a fine balance between not putting too much on Williams because you definitely lose, and not being too simplistic and then losing in that. Like, you have to go at them, but you also have to be smart with a young quarterback and a new offense. I'm just worried, and when you play under center and you play in these kind of offenses, Florida's best success were against teams that did that. They beat LSU. Okay, we didn't. They played Georgia all the way to the fourth quarter. I believe it was 20-14, and Frank said threw a pick six. So Georgia got the ball. They got to the 3-yard line. They were 3 yards from the end zone. They ran the ball 3 times in a row and didn't get a single yard. And 2 times in a row, didn't get a single yard. On third down, they threw it. They called a pass interference on Florida. So Georgia moved the ball to the 1-yard line. 1 yard from the end zone. You're talking about 5-star offensive linemen, good running backs, fullbacks, quarterbacks. They ran the ball 3 more times. So they ran the ball 5 times, and they only needed to go 3 yards and only 1 yard for 3 of those plays. And they didn't get it the entire time. They stuffed them. Florida's front seven can stuff the run. Now, against spreads, it's different. When you spread those guys out and they can't bunch up and plug holes, they're horrible against the run. Stopping the run in the shotgun and the screens and you're stretching them left and right, they're terrible. So what concerns me is our young offensive line being under center, bunching everybody together, going against their front seven. I've watched LSU and Georgia, two of the most talented offensive lines in the country, and Florida absolutely demolished them. So my concern is if we were spreading the ball out, and it's why you and I both kind of picked Tate for this game, we wanted to see a spread, that's the best chance at running at them. I think you can have a lot of success there. Now, we know Dan Enos is going to have plays that are going to assist the offensive line. I think the tight ends can really help that. We'll see about those things. But it wasn't until the fourth quarter when Georgia decided to spread Florida out, then they just ate their lunch. You watch them go play Missouri. Missouri ate their lunch for quarters because they ran a spread. So it's just they do well against these kind of offenses. I hope we spread it out more than what we've been seeing. I'm just not real confident on the inexperience and youth on this offensive line against their front seven.
Yeah, I mean, just to hit on that, I mean, I'm with you. I'm not confident. But the only thing that's kind of getting me through my worries on our offensive line is the fact that they are going against our defensive line every single day in practice. It's one of those things where it's like, and like I said before, I do believe our front seven is better than Florida's. Maybe it's slim margins, but when you're going such a great defensive front every day in practice, it's one of those things like the old players used to say. It's like the hardest days were at practice because you were going against the best of the best, and then you go to the games and it'd be a lot easier. I'm hoping some of that translates to August 24th. I'm hoping they get out there and they feel a little comfortable because yes, they are going against very similar talent level, but it's not something they haven't seen before, and that makes me feel better. It'd be one of those things if I knew our defensive front wasn't very good and you just hear that, the new offensive line is struggling a little bit in practice and all this stuff. But the fact that that they're going up against Shaq Quarterman, Michael Pinkney, Jonathan Garvin, Trayvon Hill every day in practice, especially for those young guys, it's huge because they're not going to be shell-shocked when they go out there.
I think they're going to. Yeah. I think they're going to have a good idea. They may not
perform that well, but you just know it's not going to be a state of nerves because they're used to up against these guys every day in practice, guys like skill levels like this. So it's not like, yes, they may be overmatched just because they're younger and, they've never played in front of 60,000 people before and, yada, yada, yada. But you just know that, that gives me a little bit of solace in thinking that, all right, maybe we can get through this because, it's not something they haven't seen before. So, I'm obviously not confident just because we haven't seen a lot other than Scaife and Donaldson, which I think will take a huge step this year because I think Butch Berry is a very good offensive line coach. So I think those guys have the goods, and I think we'll see a big step from them this year. But then I know we hear all this great stuff about Zion Nelson, but it's great and all. But I can't help but think that this guy, his only scholarship offer was to Appalachian State. When we signed him, everyone was saying that this was probably one of the worst signings in UM history. And now we're all touting him as like this like second coming of God. And like he's like the best offensive line freshman we've had in like since
and that's what excites me about development and Butch Berry and that strength.
Well, that's what makes me think that Butch Berry is the real deal,
Yeah, and I think that's good for the future. If he starts at left tackle, I'll drive my head through a freaking window when we go against Florida because again, I've watched those guys play, and one thing you got to realize this is what Miami fans need to realize. There's a reason Dan Mullen hired Manny Diaz twice as his defensive coordinator. He loves the kind of defense that is aggressive in your face and gets turnovers. That's what they do. They blitz
it's also
a
because
lot.
That's the athletes you get in Florida.
Yes, that's what they did in Mississippi. That's what they did in Mississippi. So it's not just because of Florida. That's what he likes. It's real football. It's line of scrimmage football. It's in your face, and they get turnovers because it assists you, especially when your offense isn't exactly where you want it to be yet. So Todd Grantham is a very good defensive coordinator. He was almost the defensive coordinator for the Bengals this year. The guy is very good, sends very complex blitzes, and they love coming off the blind side of the quarterback along that left tackle. And they'll send that defensive end around that left tackle, and they'll have a corner or a safety coming off his butt, and they'll hit the quarterback. And I've seen a lot of fumbles happen last year that Florida got because they did that. I don't want to see a left tackle there's a freshman with a freshman quarterback, and they forget to communicate one play in a critical game that's close, and that's another thing to worry about. And they send that blitz, and it's a strip fumble, and it changes the game. Like I just don't want to see a left tackle there.
And I see what you're saying. I mean, like it is risky. You're right, but I do think if that's something they decide to do and play him left tackle, I think they are going to give him help. I could see them doing a lot of 2 tight end sets and kind of throwing either Brevin or Mallory over there on that side with him, just to kind of cover sort of blitz that may come that way. I don't think they're just going to leave him on an island all night. That's just obviously not smart. But yeah, it's obviously cause for concern. I mean,
it's just one play. You know what I mean? It's one play that can change it.
It's all it takes is, like you said, all it takes is one blitz not picked up, someone not in position.
And again, with the tight ends, that's what my thing is. Like, again, Georgia's game plan was play good defense, go out there, run the ball with our 5-star running backs, with our 5-star offensive line, throw to our tight ends. That's just too slow for that Florida speed. And they shut Georgia down with it. And they have they have a good quarterback that's experienced. And they shut Georgia down for 3 quarters. Georgia had to get in the shotgun, put their receivers out there, and then Florida falls apart. Florida cannot function covering a spread offense. They just
we've seen it with the Canes too. It's something they've always struggled with. Same with it's that and running quarterbacks.
Diaz has never. No, I've not seen Diaz struggle against spreads.
Against spreads, dude.
No, when you think about Syracuse,
Toledo even gave us struggles.
Oh, they were rotating so many guys in, so many young guys in that game. When you go look at Syracuse when they were playing. What we played 2017, and they had is that the year they beat? Did they beat Clemson that year?
Who, Syracuse?
Yeah, in 17.
Yeah, that was the year.
Yeah. So and they're slinging the ball all over everybody. We picked them off 4 times. We shut their offense down. We're running now, which is why Diaz hired Enos. There's guys that are real run heavy. There's a lot of RPOs, a lot of sweeps, and it's just there's tight ends in there, but they throw the whole kitchen sink at you. You think of Boston College, Wisconsin, Pittsburgh. The only team like that we've had success against was Notre Dame. So, but spreads, I mean, I've never seen a spread team throw a lot of points on us. Toledo put a little bit of points on, but we were rotating guys in.
I guess you're right.
You know what I mean? But Florida, they get dismantled. The whole game plan when they played Kentucky, Kentucky's game plan was be run heavy. And what Florida do? They shut it down. And at the very end of the game, they started slinging the ball because they had to, and they won. And then, they played LSU, and LSU, we're going to run the ball up the middle. We're going to play good defense. And they beat LSU. And then they play Georgia, and they're going to run the ball and play good defense. And they smashed Georgia for 3 quarters until they spread the ball out, and then their depth came into play, and they won.
I was listening to. Yeah. I was listening to actually the Big 3 roll-up this morning, and they had a guy on this morning, Chris Landry. He does like all these different sports podcasts. He's like very knowledgeable on college football. And he was talking about, how last year they catered to what their strengths were. And then, like you said, I think that's what Dan Mullen does. He's very resourceful with what he has.
Yes.
And that's why a lot of people consider him, I guess, an offensive genius, is because he realized his offensive line was his strength last year. And Felipe Franks throwing the ball wasn't. So, like you said, a lot of running the ball, a lot of relying on the defense. And then once that goes out the window, they lose because they don't. It was the same issue, like you said, with Miami and Malik Rozier. That's what happened last year. Is they continued to just stack the box, and they said, "All right, you're not going to run the ball on us, so try to throw." And Malik Rozier could not throw, and it was one of those things where you're just stuck. And
the difference is they're confident in themselves because they ended up beating Michigan, which was a top 5 defense. But even if you go back and watch that game, they just ran the quarterback a bunch, and it's like Michigan had no game plan for it. They ran, and Franks can run, and he's hard to bring down. He runs, they dink and dunk on you all game, and they play solid. What does Michigan run? They try to be run heavy, pro style, and Florida shuts that down. And I don't care what Dan Mullen's success is. It's going to have huge issues if he tries to be run heavy, under center, only throw to your tight ends, when you have all that speed at receiver, put him in the shotgun, let your quarterback sling it when he needs to. Now, I understand you got to be safe, but that's just – and let's transition to the last part of this so we can get people, through this podcast. And I'll let you do your tangent. Let's – I want you to give me as a whole, so we stay kind of focused here. As a whole, give me why you think Miami will beat Florida. Because your pick is Miami, right?
Yeah.
So you give me your breakdown, your analysis as to why Miami's going to beat UF on August 24th.
Right. All right. So Canes fans, here we go. Just to give you a little bit of insight where my mind's at. So Kyle, I got to tell you, I am still utterly terrified about this game. Okay. So there's nothing I can be confident, but I'm always going to have that scar from last year's game because I went to Dallas. I was there. And we were number 8 in the nation. I was so hyped. I thought we were going to blow the doors off of LSU. And it just ruined me. So I'm a little bit hesitant on being confident, but I am confident. So I go back and forth with that at least 6 times a day. I'm like, oh shit, I'm kind of worried. But no, we got it. No, I'm kind of worried because last year, we're going to, it's a whole new team. So back to what I'm talking about. So I see a lot of similarities, and it's kind of creepy. A lot of similarities of last year's team with this Florida team. Okay. And, I think a lot of the reasons why I think Miami's going to win are not necessarily matchups and different things like that. It's intangible things. I do think Florida is going to come in on a kind of a little bit like a high horse. And they're going to think that they can just kind of run through Miami. And I think what Miami has to their benefit this year or in this game is, like you said, like a lot of people are saying, a lot of people were expecting this to be the 7-6 Miami, Mark Richt, run 6 plays. You don't have any talent on the opposite side of the ball. You have a pretty good defense, but, your offense is just so terrible. And I think a lot of that is going to kind of disappear very quickly because I think they're going to come out. They're going to come out fast, by the way. I think they're going to I don't think they're going to put any restraints on Jaron Williams. I think they're going to go out there, try to play fast, try to get an early lead because I think if you can get an early lead and get the Gators out of their game plan and make Felipe Franks throw the ball and get him out of his comfort zone, that's the way you win the game. And I think they're going to come out with that mindset. And I think they're going to kind of catch Florida with a little bit of a surprise. And that coupled with, I hear all this nonsense, and that's why I wanted to kind of go off when you brought it up about, yes, Dan Mullen is a great coach. I will say that. He really is. But offensive genius drives me absolutely nuts, okay, when people say that. Yes, he's very resourceful with what he has. He's definitely an above average offensive mind, good offensive mind. Not in my opinion, he's not a great offensive mind. I go back and watch these games.
Okay, wait. Before if he's not, okay, and maybe I shouldn't have said genius, but if he's not a top-notch offensive coordinator, who's better?
Okay, so let me just say. All
right, go ahead.
I've been doing, I have a lot of time on the road and stuff. I'm a sales rep, so my downtime, I've been watching a lot of these games last year, these Florida games, expecting to see, the masterful Dan Mullen in the flesh, and watching him come up with all these crazy formations and all these amazing plays and putting up all these points. And all I see is a bunch of nothing. I see 17 points against Missouri, which, by the way, Missouri was a 69th ranked defense last year. And that game was at home. So I see 14 points against Kentucky. 14 points against Kentucky, also at home. So you're telling me that I'm supposed to be scared of some guy that can only put up 17 points and 14 points at home against average defenses, but definitely not a Miami-level defense. So that's where I'm kind of at. And I think a lot of it is just overblown hype. And a lot of it is like Miami last year.
I agree there is a lot of overblown hype.
A lot of overblown hype. It's a lot of Miami last year. And that's what it kind of gives me solace. That makes me feel a little bit better about this game because I've been there. I've been that fan. I've been Florida. And I've been them last year. I was them. I thought we were going to destroy everyone. But I was so wrong in my thinking. And it's funny to see all these UF fans just like completely be like just like blown away by just a mirage. And yes,
no, and I agree. I agree that Florida, and like I said earlier, I think Florida's going to replicate the same season they had last year. I think they're going to go 9-3 regular season. I think that the fact that they're talking playoffs is comical. It's hilarious. The fact that they're saying they're going to beat Miami by 40 points is hilarious. And I agree with you. And the points they scored against Kentucky, Missouri, Mississippi State. It was 31-14 in the fourth quarter against South Carolina. They were getting beat. Now they came back. But my issue. Well, I'll let you finish because I got my.
I'm almost done.
Yeah, go ahead.
I hear all of this about Dan Mullen, and yes, I'm not knocking him as a coach, and I do think a lot of his reputation is off the coattails of really great players. He became an offensive coordinator at Florida. He had Tim Tebow. Come on. It's not hard to be an offensive coordinator with Tim Tebow.
Well, he went with Chris Leak also in 2006.
Okay. But Tim Tebow was also a huge part of that team with all his different packages and coming in and doing different things.
Which was creative by Dan Mullen.
Okay, yes. I'm saying that. I'm just saying, I don't see it based off of what I've watched last year. I don't see it. And, they lost Jordan Scarlett. They lost the majority of their offensive line, which had multiple NFLers on it. Are they supposed to get better? Or is that what you're going to see? And maybe even worse. Felipe Franks against our defense with 3, possibly 2 freshmen on the offensive line. And you're telling me that I'm supposed to be worried when they put up 17 points against Missouri and 14 points against Kentucky? And then, like you said, it's comical when Florida thinks they're going to blow us out. How do you think you're going to blow us out when we have a defense like we have, and you can't even put up more than 20 points against most people on your own schedule? That makes no sense. So yes, I'm very confident. When I'm speaking out loud, it makes me feel even better about the game because it's stuff I kept inside and thought about for the last 2 weeks. I'm going in and I am expecting Miami to come out and just ready to punch people in the mouth. Manny has an energy with this team that they haven't had. in a long time. I haven't seen this energy in, I don't even know, maybe since I was a 10-year-old kid watching the early 2000s teams where they actually wanted to come out and just punch you in the mouth. And I think if they can get out to a lead early, like a 7-0, 10-0 lead, it's good night to Florida Gators. It's good night. And, we won't see a close game the whole rest of the night. Now, if we can't get out to a lead, I'm a little worried, but we have to start fast. Now, all being that said, I know based off all I'm saying and all the smoke I'm throwing out there, you probably think I'm going to give a blowout. But no, I do think Miami wins. I think my score prediction will be 24-21. I think it will be a very close game, the majority of the game. I don't think either team blows out each other. I think if Florida wins, it's a close game. I think if Miami wins, it's a close game. I do think regardless, it will be between 7 points, not more than 7 points. I think it will be a very close game, no matter who wins. But yeah, be confident, Canes fans. Go out and just talk your shit, because you know what? We're the underdogs this year, and it's a lot more fun. Because you know what? Last year, it felt like crap when we were number 8 in the nation, and we went out, and I look up at the scoreboard, it's 33-3, and I was like, what just happened?
And that's the thing. And so here is my analysis. If you ask me who's going to win the game, and again, that's what I said on the last podcast, that's what I want you to think to yourself, Miami fans. So if right now, this is how I always do it. If you had to put your entire livelihood, your house, your car, your money, your job, your wife, your kids, your dog, your goldfish, everything that you ever own on this game, who's going to win? Goldfish. Well, yeah, if you had to put everything on this game, who are you picking? You have to, if you have a sane mind, pick UF simply because of the experience and the things, there's other factors that go into the game. So when I say I'm picking Florida, I'm like on a balance, like a teeter-totter, and I'm right in the middle. Like it's like 51-49. It is hard for me to pick Florida. I don't want to pick Florida. But here's why I'm picking Florida to win this game. For one, let's go one by one. The coaching staff. Okay? There's 2 ways this game can go. One, the coaching staff, this is year 2 for them. The defensive coordinator, the offensive coordinator for UF, the quarterback's a senior, experienced receivers, experienced defense. The experience, people blow that word off. And if you've played football in your life, you got to recognize how important that is. Experience is huge because football, you watch so many plays. You watch 100, 200, however many plays a game, and you think that every play matters the same. And it does in a sense. But every game comes down to a handful of plays, especially tight games. And that's where the experience comes out, because it's which team makes the most plays. And what I'm worried about when you're talking about going out with a freshman quarterback is Dan Enos calls a perfect game. All right? And he sets up the right amount of plays. And we need that one touchdown. And that play action's there. And the receiver's open. There's KJ or there's Jeff Thomas. He's there. And it's just a big game on this kid's shoulders. And he overthrows him or he underthrows him. You know what I mean? The offensive line's never played in an offense where there's so much motion. And so we have a lot of penalties rack up because of false starts. That can destroy a game. 1 or 2 turnovers, that can destroy a game. It's little things. It's not about talent. People have to stop looking at Miami and saying, we're going to smash Florida because of our talent. And Florida has to do the same thing. Shut up. No one cares about your talent. No one cares about last year. It is about the little things. And it comes down to the experience. When you're talking about us having a first-year head coach, a brand-new offensive coordinator, our one strength is the defensive line. We got a new defensive line coach. We have a lot of new transfers, a lot of new faces, a lot of young guys at key positions. There's so much youth, and they've only had 6 months to come together and try to beat a UF team that plays sound football, where their tackling is sound, their offensive play calling is sound. Yes, when you look at 17, 14 points and you say their offense isn't any good, I agree to an extent. But also you got to look at most of those games were the first few games of the year. And it takes time to develop and figure out who you got at quarterback like Franks and working that.
Not the Missouri game.
Not the Missouri game. But that is a team with a first-round draft pick quarterback who spread them out, which is what – if Miami's running a spread right now, I'd be far more confident. However, a lot of those games are early on. They play sound football. I think ultimately this game will come down to the turnover and field position battle. I'm not too worried about field position. I think we got a good punter. I think that our offensive play calling and our quarterback can move the ball. The turnovers are worrisome, and it could go either way. Dan Mullen knows that if Miami starts turning the ball over like Notre Dame, this game can turn into a Notre Dame game. Miami has the ability to blow Florida out. It can 100% happen. Okay? And here's some reasons why. Okay? It can happen. All right? Because here's the thing. I've said for years, you have to understand how important it is to have a head coach with some passion who's going to push you to the brink. You have to have somebody who's going to lead you. It's a whole different team from Mark Richt, who's kind of passive, to Manny Diaz, who doesn't give a crap about anything. He wants to kill you. And if he can kind of summon that, and you know what Miami can do? And Miami, it's almost like a ghost. It's a weird feeling. You know what I mean? When Miami, and you saw it against Notre Dame in 2017, when it was and it wasn't, everyone was saying, oh, Miami's going to learn now because all these close games that they had, they're going to learn a lesson now against Notre Dame. And those turnovers started happening, and Miami turned it on, and they murdered Notre Dame. That can happen, okay? Because you have a lot. The one good thing about inexperience is these young kids don't understand that they're supposed to lose. They don't get that. Gervin Hall's not going out there going, all right, we're underdogs, we might lose. He's not going into that mindset. These kids are going out there with every thought in their mind that they're going to win this ball game. And if that belief is intact on both sides of the ball, and it transitions to making certain plays and certain downs, Miami can definitely win this. And not just win, they could win big. But at the same time...
That's why I said, that's cut you off. That's why I said that I think if they start fast, I think that's huge.
Yes, they can. But then you have to always... I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm done.
Yeah?
No, I'm done. That's all I was saying.
But that's but you have to look at it. You can't be objective. You have to look at the other side. You're a freshman quarterback. You throw two. Things get a little nervous. You know what I mean? DJ still has a fumbling problem. We still have a drop problem. A few 2-minute penalties. You look at the Florida game last year, it was 41-14. Well, I watched that game. Florida didn't do crap. It's not like at no point did Florida take the ball and drive 80 yards again and again and again. It was Florida State shooting themselves in the foot with penalties and turnovers. And that's what this game's going to come down to. I agree with you. And I shouldn't have said he's an offensive genius, but he is one of the best in the country in coaching around talent. And in a game like this, you just cannot turn the ball over. And we're a defense who takes the ball away. They're a defense who takes the ball away. I look at who's most likely to get the turnovers. When we have a freshman quarterback, they have a senior quarterback. They're year 2 in the system. We're year 1 in the system. I give them the edge because of experience. When I look at the defense, new defensive coordinator, even though Diaz is still involved, with a lot of young guys in that defensive backfield, going against a spread system that sets up the pass game with all kinds of formations, that's scary. It's a matchup advantage. So they have the matchup advantage in coaching, in my opinion, as far as experience. They have the matchup advantage offensively because of experience, and defensively we're about the same. And then at key positions, they have some advantages with senior receivers and some of the young guys that we have. So it's just, Florida could get away with with a 2-touchdown win, even though they're not that much better than us because we could turn the ball over. These games flip. So people have to understand when you're talking about Miami and Florida, you're talking about it's not the whole game. It's 5 to 10 plays. And it's who's going to make those plays when they count. Can Miami make it? Yes. Are they talented enough? Yes. But it is game 1, and this team and this coaching staff have been together 6 months. And if Miami does win, Florida should be embarrassed because it's going to be hilarious. And I want it to happen more than anything. But my pick is not Miami now because there's just too many ifs. And there's too many what will happen. We don't know. There's too many we don't knows. We don't know if Manny Diaz will have this team in the mindset that they can win already. You know what I mean? When he talked about the offensive scrimmage and there were still some wide-eyed kids and that disease was still in the program, how much of that's going to matter in this game? We don't know if this offensive line is going to have enough continuity to make plays. We don't know if this offensive line is not going to be penalty prone. We don't know if the defensive backs are going to hold their own. They're all young. We don't know how quick this offense is going to take place and have success. Year 1, game 3 against Toledo, Dan Enos is playing with Arkansas. The same Arkansas who's hanging 50 and 60 points on several SEC teams only hung 12 points on Toledo. You just don't know. And it's not because of talent. And it's not even really because of coaching. It's the meshing. It's the experience. It plays a part more than anything. So I can't pick Miami confidently to win this game because of that. I would pick UF barely. I would say like a 27-24 game. Barely. But Miami can go out there and play sound football and not turn the ball over. Yes, Miami will definitely win this game. I am on this 51%, 49% edge of who's going to win it. Now, some advantages for Miami. Florida will be confident, overly confident. I do believe that will happen. They believe they're the best ever. And they had a good season like we had a season before we went to LSU. Miami knows they've been in the doldrums and they've been hearing this crap for months. There's a lot of our defensive line can make some plays. Franks, I've never seen put a game on his shoulders and win ball games. You make him throw the ball consistently, he could turn the ball over a lot. That could happen. Miami has to shut. Miami has to
for the guy in the back.
So I've said, and I'll finish this up because I'm going long. I've said why I think Florida will win. Here's the keys to beating Florida. This is what Miami has to do to win. This is why I think it's possible, even though I picked Florida. If Miami shuts that run game down, they're going to run the ball at Miami all game, waiting for them to break. All they think they got to do, get a couple touchdowns on offense. They don't have to make – every game that you watched Florida last year, every game they won, there was no more than 3 offensive drives that went the full length of the field for a touchdown or points. Everything else came off turnovers, the other team getting penalties, just ridiculous stuff. Florida is the best at letting you beat yourself. So if Miami goes in this game and Dan Enos has to, like you said, he's got to let Williams go. He's got to let him play, but Williams has to be smart with the ball. If there's no turnovers on Miami's end, Miami can win this game. You shut down Florida's run game, you make Franks throw, and then when we throw, we've got to throw the ball well, and we got to allow Franks to throw. I don't believe at all that Florida can throw the ball well all game. And that's the thing too, is maybe we don't know if Williams can come out there. He might come out there and be like Jameis Winston and just destroy Florida. We know for a fact Franks isn't going to come out and destroy Miami. So that's a plus for us. We know what they're running.
I was actually thinking about something today. Do you remember when DeAndre Francois made his FSU debut?
Is it Mississippi State?
It reminds me a lot against Ole Miss.
Yeah,
Ole
Miss.
It was in Camping World Stadium for like opener, and he was a redshirt freshman starting his first ever game against. I think Ole Miss was ranked like 10th in the nation, and everyone was like, "Oh, like we think Florida State has no shot because they're starting a brand new quarterback. He's a freshman," and he went out there and balled. So like, part of me like has that in my head and thinking like, what if J-Dub just goes out there and just like balls the F out, and we're all
and that's now the problem with that is he was still in the system the whole time. He was
the big what if.
And that's the thing. Like, what makes me feel good about the game, even though I don't have Miami winning, is that one, we know Franks isn't going to come out and dominate Miami, not with his arm. Now can they be successful offensively by just keeping Miami stretched sideline to sideline? Bringing the Gervin Hall and those safeties up and dropping the ball over their head a couple times, stretching us out, running Franks. Sure. But is Franks going to get in the shotgun and throw the ball and lead 80-yard drives consistently in Miami? Absolutely not. I don't care who we have at defensive back. That's not happening. So we know that they're not capable of that. Miami's 100% capable. If Williams is just that guy, he has the arm talent to just destroy these guys. But we just don't know. It's such a big if. We don't know if there's going to be – it comes down to little things like communication problems with Diaz and the offensive defensive coordinators because it's their first game together. It comes down to getting calls in. Oh, we got a false start for that on a drive we really needed. Or, I'm sorry, we got a delay of game on a drive we really needed because we're still working out those kinks because we've only been calling plays together for 6 months. It's as small as that. You know what I mean? It's as small as the freshman offensive lineman getting 4 false starts that day and it kills 2 drives. You know what I mean? So where we beat ourselves, I'm more concerned that Miami's going to beat themselves than I am with Florida beating us. I don't think Florida's a team that can come out and beat Miami straight up. But because of inexperience, I think Miami is the team to beat themselves. And it's hard for me to think that they're ready to win this game. But can it happen? Has it happened? Yes.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
So that said, guys,
Right
now we, man, listen,
next time we come on the pod, it's going to be after a Canes victory.
and listen, guys, so this is the schedule. This is the setup from here on out. So every week, we're going to start putting out 2 pods a week. We're going to put a pod out during the week, previewing the game. When the game ends on Saturday, another pod will come out on Sunday or Monday. A quick one, maybe 20, 30 minutes, discussing the game that we just played, and then we'll have another pod a few days later previewing the next game. And so we'll be trying to post these guys out. We will be doing basically instant reactions of each game that we play. So our next podcast is going to be after the UF game, again, breaking that down and the results of it. So we're excited. We're doing this one early because I will actually be –
it's either going to be really sad or it's going to be really exciting.
That's the thing, man. And you know what's weird about these games is anytime you're a team that was real bad and you got a new coach, it's easy to be real good the next year. But then once you're good that year, it's the next year that's difficult. So you saw Miami, they were like, they were really good in 2017. So everyone expected everything in 2018. We crashed. Florida was terrible in 2017. So they were real good in 2018. Now everybody expects them to be real good. And they don't expect anything out of Miami. It's always dangerous to be that team. That's another good thing going for Miami. There's a lot of good things going for them. There's a lot of reasons Miami could win it. But I lean heavy on experience. But listen, if Miami wins this game, no part of me is going to be like, wow, I can't believe it. I'm not going to be shocked because I know they can. It's just there's just too many ifs. There's too many what ifs. So we're going to see. I'm excited, guys. The reason this pod is so early, I'm flying out to Alaska in the morning. Won't be back. I'll be flying in the day of the game. So, Lord willing, nothing happens with my plane. We don't get behind.
No delays.
Can't have that. I'll be flying back from Alaska. But, man, we're excited. I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. We went back and forth. We probably skipped over some of our actual statistical stuff just to give opinions. But I'm ready, man. I enjoyed it. Thanks for coming on the pod. Guys, thanks for listening. As always, we will talk to you after the UF game. Go Canes. I hope we pull it out.
Go Canes.